given his lordship had already told me the truth.
Something feels wrong, not just in the forest, but in every choice these characters are about to make. Because this time, it's not only about survival, it's about regret, betrayal, and a war that may take more than anyone is ready to lose. The trailer for Episode 8, titled In the Forest, quietly sets up one of the most intense turning points of the entire season. And if you look closely, every moment in that short preview carries a hidden warning. Nothing here feels random. Every character is being pushed toward a decision they cannot take back. And the most dangerous part is, many of them don't even realize it yet. In the beginning, we see Jaime standing on the edge of something far bigger than just another battle. This is not the same kind of war he has faced before. There is a different weight on him now, a sense that this time, the outcome is already written somewhere beyond his control. As preparations begin for the Battle of King's Mountain, there is no excitement, only tension. The kind that builds slowly, like a storm you can't escape. Jaime isn't just preparing to fight. He is preparing for what might be his final test. At the same time, Claire's presence feels more important than ever. She is no longer just supporting Jaime. She is silently observing everything, almost as if she senses what is coming. There is a quiet fear in the way things are unfolding. Not panic, but something deeper. The kind of fear that comes when you know history has already decided how things will end. And yet she stays. Because walking away is not an option anymore. But what makes this episode truly different is not just the battle. It's the emotional fractures forming between characters. William, for example, is no longer just confused, he is breaking from the inside. The anger we saw before is now turning into something heavier. Regret. Isolation. A feeling that he has pushed away the very people who once stood by him. And in the trailer, there is a moment where his vulnerability becomes impossible to ignore. This is not the same William anymore. This is someone who is starting to realize the cost of his own decisions. And then there's Lord John Grey. His situation is far more dangerous than it appears at first glance. The tension surrounding him is not loud, but it is constant. The presence of a gun being pointed, the uncertainty of who stands on which side, it all builds a question that refuses to go away. Is he about to become a victim of someone else's conflict? Or is he stepping into a sacrifice that no one else is ready to make? What makes all of this even more intense is how the trailer connects these separate storylines into one single direction. Everything is moving toward the forest. Not just physically, but emotionally. The forest here doesn't feel like a place. It feels like a trap. A place where truths will be revealed, but at a cost. A place where characters will confront not only each other, but themselves. And then comes the most interesting detail, the arrival of unexpected allies. At first, it may seem like hope, reinforcements, support, but when you look deeper, it raises another question. Are these allies truly here to help? Or are they about to change the outcome in ways no one can predict? Because in a story like this, help often comes with consequences. The trailer doesn't give clear answers. And that's exactly what makes it powerful. It leaves you with a feeling, a sense that something irreversible is about to happen. That this episode is not just another step forward, but a moment where everything shifts. And if there is one thing this show has proven again and again, it's that the calm before the storm is never really calm. The deeper you look into this trailer, the clearer it becomes that Episode 8 is not just about a battle. It's about consequences finally catching up with everyone. Because every decision made in the previous episode now begins to create pressure, and that pressure is slowly pushing each character toward a breaking point. Jaime's situation, in particular, feels far more complicated than it first appears. On the surface, he is preparing for the Battle of King's Mountain like a soldier who has done this many times before. But this time, something is different. There is a quiet awareness in him, almost as if he knows this is not just another fight he can walk away from. His experience tells him what war looks like, but his instincts are warning him that this battle carries a different kind of danger. It's not just about who wins or loses, it's about who survives at all. What adds even more weight to this is the arrival of new men willing to stand beside him. Normally, reinforcements would bring confidence. But here it feels uncertain, because every new face also brings new risks. Loyalty is never guaranteed in times like these, and the trailer subtly hints that trust will play a major role in what happens next. Jaime is not just leading a group into battle. He is placing his life in the hands of people he may not fully know. And in a moment like this, even the smallest mistake can change everything. At the same time, Claire continues to stand at the center of all this tension, but in a much quieter way. She isn't raising alarms or making dramatic moves. Instead, she observes, understands, and prepares. There is a sense that she is trying to hold on to control in a situation where control is slowly slipping away. Her knowledge of history becomes both a strength and a burden, because knowing what might happen doesn't always mean you can stop it. And that realization creates a silent emotional pressure that follows her through every moment. Then we move back to William, whose storyline is becoming one of the most emotionally intense parts of the episode. His anger is no longer sharp, it's heavy. The kind of anger that starts to turn inward. After everything that has happened, he is beginning to question not just others, but himself. The choices he made, the people he pushed away, and the truth he tried to avoid, it's all coming back to him at once. And in the trailer, that emotional weight becomes visible in a way we haven't seen before. There is also a strong sense that William is heading toward a moment of realization. Not a sudden change, but a gradual understanding of what truly matters. And that realization may come too late, because while he is struggling internally, the world around him is moving fast. Danger is closing in, and there is very little time left for him to fix what has already been broken. Now, when it comes to Lord John Grey, the tension reaches another level entirely. The presence of a weapon pointed in his direction is not just a random moment. It is a signal that his position in this story is about to become much more serious. He has always been a character who carries strength in a calm and controlled way. But in situations like this, calm can only go so far. What makes this situation even more interesting is the uncertainty of who exactly is behind the threat. The trailer wants us to believe one thing, but at the same time, it quietly suggests another. And that uncertainty creates suspense. Because if this is not who it appears to be, then the situation could be even more dangerous than expected. Lord John Grey may not just be caught in someone else's conflict. He may become the center of it. And this is where all the storylines begin to connect again. Because if Lord John is truly in danger, and if William is already filled with regret, then there is a strong possibility that their paths will cross again under very intense circumstances. A rescue, a confrontation, or even a sacrifice, any of these outcomes feel possible at this point. Meanwhile, the forest itself continues to feel like more than just a setting. It represents uncertainty. A place where visibility is low, where danger can come from any direction, and where decisions must be made quickly. It reflects exactly what these characters are going through internally. Confusion, fear, and the constant pressure of not knowing what comes next. By the time the trailer reaches its final moments, one thing becomes very clear. This episode is building toward a collision. Not just between armies, but between emotions, choices, and consequences. And once that collision happens, there will be no going back. Because in a story like this, the real damage is not always done on the battlefield. Sometimes, it happens long before the first shot is even fired. And as everything begins to move closer to that inevitable collision, Episode 8 starts to feel less like a continuation, and more like a point of no return. Because once the events inside that forest truly begin, there will be no space left for hesitation. Every character will be forced to act, and every action will carry a consequence that cannot be undone. What makes this moment so powerful is how quietly the tension has been building. There are no loud warnings, no clear signs of what exactly will go wrong. And yet the feeling is there in every second of the trailer. Something is about to break, not just physically in terms of war, but emotionally within the characters themselves. And when that kind of break happens, it changes everything. Jaime's path, in particular, feels like it is leading straight into danger in a way that cannot be avoided. The Battle of King's Mountain is not just another historical event in the background. It feels personal this time. There is a growing sense that Jaime may be stepping into a moment that has been waiting for him all along. A moment where his strength, his leadership, and his past decisions will all be tested at once. But what makes it even more intense is the possibility that this battle may not go the way anyone expects. The trailer hints at movement, chaos, and shifting positions, signs that this will not be a controlled or predictable fight. And in situations like that, even the strongest leaders can find themselves vulnerable. Jaime is experienced, yes, but experience does not guarantee survival. Especially when fate itself seems to be pushing events in a certain direction. At the same time, Claire's role may become more critical than ever before. Not in a loud or obvious way, but in the decisions she makes under pressure. She understands the risks better than anyone else, and that knowledge may force her into a position where she has to choose between following history or trying to change it. And that choice alone carries enormous weight, because if she interferes, the consequences could ripple far beyond this single moment. Meanwhile, William's emotional journey seems to be reaching its peak. Everything he has been struggling with, the anger, the confusion, the sense of betrayal, is now turning into something else. Awareness. And awareness in a moment like this can be both powerful and dangerous, because realizing your mistakes often comes at the exact moment when it's hardest to fix them. There is a strong possibility that William will try to take action, not just to correct what he has done, but to prove something to himself and to others. And that kind of motivation can push a person into risky decisions, especially in a situation where emotions are already running high. If he chooses to step forward now, it won't be out of confidence, it will be out of urgency. And urgency rarely leads to safe outcomes. Lord John Grey's situation, on the other hand, feels like it is standing right on the edge of a major turning point. If he is captured, it will not just affect him, it will trigger reactions from everyone connected to him. And those reactions could easily pull multiple characters into the same conflict at once. What starts as a single moment of danger could quickly expand into something much larger. And this is where the idea of the forest becomes even more meaningful. It is not just a place where events happen, it is a place where paths cross, where characters who have been moving separately are suddenly forced into the same space, under the same pressure. And when that happens, hidden tensions rise to the surface. Truths come out. Decisions are made quickly, often without time to think. By the end of what the trailer suggests, Episode 8 will not leave things the same as before. There is a strong sense that relationships will shift, alliances may change, and at least one moment will leave a lasting impact moving forward. Not necessarily because of a single dramatic event, but because of the chain reaction that follows it. And that is what makes this episode so important. It is not just about what happens, it is about what those events set into motion. Because once certain lines are crossed, there is no returning to how things were. Now the real question is not just who will survive the forest, but who will come out of it changed forever.